This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening. Welcome to the Kent County Levy Court meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 7th. We're meeting at the Kent County Administrative Complex at 555 Bay Road, Dover, Delaware. We're in Levy Court Chambers, room 203. Before we actually get into the meeting, I'll turn the meeting over to the Acting County Administrator to explain how those that would like to join us via WebEx or phone can do so. Al?
Thank you, Mr. President. This meeting is available online and via telephone, and participants can join either by computer or telephone throughout the course of the meeting. There will be opportunities for public comments from those attending in person, online at designated times. For those joining us by phone, press *3, which will raise your electronic hand so our operator can identify you and bring you into the meeting. Pressing *6 will mute and unmute your line. If you're on a computer, at the bottom of the screen, you will see the hand and microphone icons, and we ask that you use those at the appropriate time. We also ask that all comments from our guests be preceded by stating your name and address for the record. This meeting is being recorded and will follow all rules of procedure adopted by Levy Court, as well as the Mason's Rules of Order. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll call the committee meeting to order. And we do have all 7 commissioners present, plus the county administrator. So the first item on the agenda is Planning Services Committee. Mrs. Maston, Chair. I'll turn it over to you, ma'am.
We have 2 items, community development contract changes. Mrs. Kiefer?
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. We do have 2 change orders before you for our community development, our housing rehab program. The first one is the replacement of a septic pump. When we originally did the contract, we thought we only had to deal with the alarm. When we got in there, we saw we had some failures. This change order will bring it over 25% of the original contract, so it needs Levy Court approval. The second one is a rehab to the electrical system. We were able to put in a new heating system for the homeowner, but the electrical system couldn't handle it. So we've got to upgrade that entirely. And again, this exceeds the 25% of the original contract amount, so it requires Levy Court approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any commissioners have questions for Mrs. Kiefer? No questions? Thank you, Mrs. Kiefer. Any public comments? Since there's no public comments, we'll adjourn this session and turn it back to President Pepper.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Community Services Committee. Mr. Sweeney, Chair. Turn to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shepard is going to slowly join us at the table to give us an update on the connection between Brecknock Park and Kesselring Park.
Jeremy, hold on a second. We're going to move these forward to the meeting later on this evening.
I'm sorry, I thought about that after the fact. Show of hands to move forward to the business meeting. 7 up.
Thank you. It'll be moved forward. Thank you.
All right, Jeremy, update us.
All right, thank you very much. In your packet, I gave you a memo outlining an RFQ process, which is a request for qualifications process for professional services in relation to the Kesselring pedestrian bridge. Now, this is a project, it's been around for a while. It's been in, it's been out, it's been all around the world, I guess. Very happy to be at least bringing this forward at this time. The request for qualifications process is different than a typical bid process in the fact that what we do is we go out and we request qualifications from vendors such as engineering firms in this case about how those relate to our project, which is this bridge. It was an interesting process because we got to learn a little bit about a number of different vendors here in this area. Excuse me, my memo here really outlines that entire process from soup to nuts, in the sense that we went out, we properly bid this thing, we got letters of intent to submit, got the 3 submissions, formed a team to go over those submissions, rated those submissions based on the criteria that we included, and then we essentially ranked the firms, 1, 2, and 3. And then the process is to go to your highest ranked firm and ask for a professional services contract that includes the cost. Now, the cost, of course, is typically the one thing that we choose things on, but in this case it is important, but it isn't the only thing. So we did get a professional services proposal from our number 1 firm, which was Century Engineering, a very local firm, as you should well know, and somebody that we've worked with in the past in the Parks and Recreation System out at Hun for the bridge, excuse me, not the bridge, but the parking lot and the entrance there. And also they were instrumental in the Greenway development for the last 20 years. So definitely a firm that's known to us, has good qualifications, and therefore, they gave us the professional services contract. I did not include that because we were working on some language with the county attorney. Craig has given his approval of the latest draft of the contract, so that's been done. The proposal itself really includes 4 different cost line items. The first one is the location study. The location has always been a tricky element for us. Our goal is to cross the Isaac Branch between the Brecknock Nature Trail and Kesselring property directly, because we have a loop trail on the Kesselring side, and of course the Brecknock Nature Trail is essentially connected to the loop inside Brecknock. So our vision was creating this internal park trail system that was like none other here in Kent County. Would provide for almost 5 miles of continuous loop trails. But we ran into some difficulties in the process because we ended up finding out that the stream was a federal floodway, which required additional work that we were not prepared to do at the time. Then the pandemic hit, things get put on back shelves, so on and so forth. So re-identifying a route closest between those 2 properties. It might be 100 yards from where we started. It might be exactly where we started if the the vendor here can work with planning services to identify flood stages and different things. That's kind of getting too far into the weeds. A second task, and the biggest of all the tasks, is the plan specs and permitting. They'll have to do a hydrological study based on what it is they propose to put within the stream corridor. That's based on FEMA's requirement to do so. So that one's going to be the most expensive of them. They're also going to give us bid support, task number 3. We're kind of a small shop, and we got a lot of things going on, so any kind of support with a lot of the paperwork end of it is going to be very helpful for us. They'll be attending meetings, answering RFIs, doing other things that are very well welcomed in this process. And then the final task, number 4, is construction services. So not only are they going to be there at the beginning to design and study, but they're also going to be at the end when it's constructed to ensure that they're constructing it to the specifications that they design. All told, the price for that is in your memo at $77,600. Staff recommendation is to move forward at this time and award them this project at that amount. Any questions?
Thanks, Mr. Shepard. So again, I'm going to ask Mr. Hertz something. Commissioner Hertz, the work that your company's doing along Salisbury Road will have a walking path, right?
Yeah, we'll have a 10-foot all-purpose trail.
So that walking path then connects to the POW MIA highway, which then connects to our park, Kessel Ring, and continues all the way to the stoplight at Route 13 and connects to Brecknock there. The circle around Kessel Ring, which is behind Wyoming Mills and Windswept, I can't remember those 2 roads. That circle, this will connect to Brecknock, which has all the pass through the woods and all the way around all of Brecknock. DelDOT is currently working on the walking path along Route 10, which connects to the St. Jones Byway, which goes back into Dover behind DelDOT and then out the other way through Lebanon. And we're hoping to, at some point, extend that all the way to the bay at some point in our history, hopefully soon. This is a good thing that we're providing to anybody who wants a walking path or wants to jog. So, Commissioner Pepper.
Jeremy, just to get some kind of perspective, I know it depends on where the bridge actually goes, but about how long do you think this bridge is going to be?
Probably between, when we first chose a location, we chose it based on the shortest possible route between Kessel Ring and the Brecknock Nature Trail. That bridge was estimated about 110 feet. And so if we go upstream towards Wyoming Mill Pond, it might get to be 150, possibly 200, but I think that's stretching it a bit. Our goal, of course, is to not build the biggest bridge. Our goal is to build the right bridge. But yeah, I would say probably under 200 feet would be most accurate in that area.
Now, will it resemble in any way the bridge there at Hun Park?
At Hun? So it could. The answer is that it could. We have had conversations with that vendor. They are able to secure a bridge on helical piles, which are, basically a screw that you screw in the ground. Most of our parks already have that type of system. If you go up to Big Oak, that long bridge up there is on helical piles. If we have to pour something into the ground, that's a little bit different. But essentially, they have told us, I think they can go maybe 150 free span. And of course, the free span is nice because we may not have to actually build inside the FEMA floodway. But that's yet to be determined. We'll let the professionals, hash that out. But so the answer is it could, or it could be like a boardwalk that we already have too. So we'll end up finding out through this process.
Gotcha, thank you.
Commissioner Angel.
Mr. Shepard answered about the helical bridge, because I was on that when we first did the first one at Big Oak, and even though it moves slightly, it's a good piece of equipment to have. So, just quick, Mr. Sweeney, you mentioned MIA Parkway. This does not have anything to get to MIA Parkway though, right? It's just between Kessering and Brecknock.
This bridge is, but if you park at Brecknock, you'll be able to walk on the paths around Brecknock, cross this bridge, get to Kessel Ring, get on the path and that Kessel Ring path connects to the POW MIA.
Because it's my understanding that they're going to widen MIA Parkway in the near future here. They're working on it now.
There's still, DelDOT's long-range plan is to always keep a walking path. So even if they widen it, they'll keep that path somewhere.
All right, thank you.
So, any other questions for Mr. Shepherd? Move this forward to the ensuing business meeting. 7 hands. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Shepherd. Appreciate it. Take care. Any questions, any public comment on this issue? Any public comment? Mark, anybody online?
If there's anyone joining us online who would like to comment on either of the issue that was just heard, please indicate by raising your electronic hand. I see no hands raised at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Adjourn back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. We'll recess to special business meeting. Call the special business meeting to order. I ask the invocation from Commissioner Angel, Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Maston, and a moment of silence for our troops and first responders, Commissioner Sweeney. All rise, please.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as our group with our group and nurture the bonds of our community. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence to honor our military, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, first responders, and medical staff who have lost their lives in the line of duty protecting our lives and way of life. Tonight, also, please keep in mind the thousands of those killed in earthquakes in Turkey and Syria and the families they left behind. And please keep the first responders there who continue to search for survivors and eventually to recover those who were killed in that earthquake. Please remember these two individuals who died in the line of duty in the United States, as well as keeping their families in your thoughts and prayers as they deal with the loss of their loved ones. Police Officer Gonzalo Carrasco Jr. from the Selma Police Department in California. Police Officer Sean Sugansky from the McKeesport Police Department in Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sweeney. Ms. Tanaka, can we have roll call, please? Determine the quorum, please.
Mr. Angel?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Hertz?
Here.
Mrs. Maston?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Sweeney?
Here.
Mr. Pepper?
Here.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. The motion on the adoption of the agenda.
Move to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Angel. Any questions? Don't see any. A roll call again, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. We do have agenda for this evening has been approved. Consent agenda 23-02.
Move to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Angel. We have a roll call on the consent agenda, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. The consent agenda 23-02 has been approved for this evening. On presentations, we have one this evening. We're doing a special tribute in honor of Black History Month. And each one of the commissioners has a member of our community that they'd like to draw attention to and honor. So I believe we're going to do this by Levy Court District. So we'll start with District 1.
Kent County Levy Court celebrates Black History Month, honoring the accomplishments of Afro-Americans in Delaware. My tribute is going to George C. Wright Jr., Smyrna, Delaware, March 8th, 1932 to December 21st, 2017. Elected the first African-American mayor in the state of Delaware, served over 2 decades as executive director of the Delaware League of Local Governments, and elected at the national level to the board of directors of the National League of Cities. George C. Wright Jr. also served many years as the chair of the Kent County Community Development Advisory Committee and provided guidance in administering the Community Development Block Grant Program, benefiting low and moderate income communities in central Delaware.
District 2.
This evening, paying tribute to Honorable Reuben Salters, skilled and experienced and respected political leader who continues to work tirelessly for the betterment of the Dover-Kent County community. Mr. Salters' lifetime achievements span from officer in the United States Air Force, educator, activist, and community organizer. He continues to touch lives to date through his signature accomplishments as founder and president of the Inter-City Cultural League, the Sankofa African Dance and Drum Company, and the annual African American Festival. Levy Court would like to thank you on behalf of all the residents of Kent County.
Thank you. District 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is with distinct honor and pleasure and privilege that I have Dr. Reba Ross Hollingsworth. Kent County honors the exceptional life of Dr. Reba Ross Hollingsworth, an educator, activist, mentor, historian, and one of the state's leading authorities on parliamentary law. Dr. Hollingsworth's line of ancestry in Kent County can be traced back to 1790. She grew up during the segregation and taught through integration and has faced extraordinary circumstances. In spite of racial obstacles, Dr. Hollingsworth rose to become one of the most respected authorities in Delaware. She has lived through a significant amount of American history and most recently served on the Women's Suffrage Centennial Committee. In August 2020, she stood by the historical marker with her committee recognizing that event. Dr. Hollingsworth has the distinct honor of being inducted into Delaware's Women's Hall of Fame. It is believed that Dr. Hollingsworth is a relative of Harry Ross Tubman. At 96, Dr. Hollingsworth unselfishly continues to be a beacon of light for those to follow.
District 4.
Kent County Levy Court pays tribute to George Tigg Jr. of Harrington, Delaware. Mr. Tigg is the first African-American introduced into the National Harness Racing Hall of Fame class of 2022. When you mention his name, those who are familiar with the horse racing recall Wiggle It, Jiggle It. Mr. Tigg's lifetime achievements span from earning the U.S. Harness Horse of the Year, introduction into the Delaware Afro-American Sports Hall of Fame, many prestigious sports writers awards, as well as last year receiving a tribute from the Governor John C. Carney at the State Fair. We would like to congratulate George Tigg Jr. in his many accomplishments, and it gives me great pleasure and honor, especially with Mr. Tiggs being a good friend and my neighbor.
District 5.
Thank you. Recognizing the accomplishments of African Americans with roots in Delaware and beyond for Levy Court celebration of the Black History Month. Samuel D. Burris was an African American member of the Underground Railroad from 1809 to December 3rd, 1863. Born in Willow Grove, Delaware in 1813, Samuel was a free black man in a time when slavery was at its peak. Well aware of the consequences of his action, in June 1847, Samuel Burris was caught. He was later convicted and automatically sentenced off into slavery. However, friends who were active abolitionists found he was about to be sold, and they acted to free him. Mr. Burris willingly risked his life to ensure that others would be free. On November 2nd, 2015, then Governor Jack Markell officially pardoned Mr. Samuel Burris for those crimes.
Thank you. District 6.
It's my pleasure to recognize Richard Allen. Richard Allen, Kent County reflects upon the extraordinary life of Richard Allen, a minister, educator, writer, and one of America's most active and influential black leaders. He was born into slavery in 1760. In his youth, Richard Allen's family was sold to a plantation owner near Dover, Delaware. He bought his freedom in 1780 and moved to Philadelphia. In 1794, he founded the African Methodist Episcopal Church and was the first elected and consecrated bishop. There are currently 12 African American Methodist Episcopal churches in Kent County.
Thank you. And District 7, also known as At Large, I'm pleased to recognize this evening Emily E. Riley George Morris. Ms. Morris was Kent County Prothonotary from 1980 to 1992. She was the first African-American female elected into a state of Delaware government office. Her memberships include devoted member of Mount Zion African Methodist Episcopal Church, Kent County Republican Party, board member of the National Urban Rural Fellows, board member of the House of Pride, member of the NAACP, member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and executive director of the Dover Educational and Community Center. In 2000, she was inducted into the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame. And we are extremely proud to be able to do this at the beginning of Black History Month. And this evening, we are extremely proud to have two of the ones that we recognized here in the audience this evening. We have Dr. Rita Hollingsworth and Reuben Salters. If you two would stand, please, we'd like to give you a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you for being here this evening. Ms. Hollingsworth, Dover High must have did something good because Al and I are both graduates of Dover High. So we appreciate you folks for being here tonight and taking part in this small celebration that we had, but I believe very worthwhile. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And Reuben, good to see you, buddy. And that young lady sitting next to you. All right. We'll move on to new business, potential committee meeting actions. Mrs. Maston, you have two.
Okay, first one is the Community Development Contract number 19-48, Change Order 3. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the unanticipated work items, which include remove and replace septic pump, switch, floats, fuses, and wiring, replace baseboard heat thermostats and site-built wooden handrails to the tune of $4,375.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Masson, second by Commissioner Scott. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel? Mr.
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals the Community Development Contract number 19-48, change order number 3 has been approved. Item number 2, Commissioner Maston.
Number 2, Community Development Contract number 21-01, Change Order 1, which includes unanticipated work items, remove and replace the existing electric service wire and its components, then install a new service wire, including any necessary digging or trenching new panel box, any new connections, missed utility, markout, and coordination with the power company for disconnect and reconnect the service. Total $6,300.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Masson, second by Commissioner Scott. Any questions? And seeing none, can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals Community Development Contract number 21-01, change order number 1 has been approved. The next item, Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to award the Wetlands Bridge project to Century Engineering and accept the professional services contract in the amount of $77,600 and to allow the President of Levy Court to sign said contract, provided it has been reviewed by the county attorney.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Scott. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals the motion passed for the Kettle Ring Pedestrian Bridge RFQ award. And that concludes the end of potential committee meeting actions. Before I proceed, I'd like to recognize Senator Buxton, who's in the room with us this evening. Most time he's been here, he's been sitting up here, and now he's in the audience, but glad to have you. All right, we have some introductions this evening. Commissioner Angel, you have one, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Introduction of Resolution 9373, a resolution to extend the Kent County Stormwater Maintenance District pursuant to Chapter 52, Title 9 of the Delaware Code, and Sections 90.4 E, 10, and Chapter 187 of the Kent County Code, Parker's Run, for public hearing on Tuesday, February 28, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Mrs. Maston, you have an introduction.
Introduction of Resolution 3974, a resolution to extend the Kent County Stormwater Maintenance District pursuant to Chapter 52, Title 9 of the Delaware Code and Section 90.4 E, 10, Chapter 187 of the Kent County Code, Ashland, for public hearing on Tuesday, February 28, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Thank you for that introduction. Under other business, Commissioner Angel, I believe we need to do both of those, please.
Move to go into executive session immediately following fiscal year 24 budget review for preliminary discussion on site acquisition for publicly funded capital improvement, legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation, and personnel matters pursuant to 29 Del Code 10004 B2, 4, and 9.
Need a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. Item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to go into executive session of the meeting following the committee meetings of February 21st, 2023 for preliminary discussion on site acquisition for publicly funded capital improvement, legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation, and personal matters pursuant to 29 Del Code 10004 B2, 4, and 9.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call, please. Mr. Tanaka.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals the motion pass. Any information items? Any informational items this evening? There will be no Levy Court meeting Tuesday, February 14th, 2023. Public comments. Any public comments this evening? We'll recognize Senator Buxton.
Do I have to swear in? I don't remember.
You can be sworn at.
I'd just like to lodge a complaint, that's all. First of all, great to see folks over here and my friends over here to the right. It's been a minute. But I brought my friend here, Brian Scharf, a constituent, to show how the government works. And clearly the Buxton effect is no longer in effect because you got done way too soon. I don't know who's doing the talking, but somebody needs to pick it up, all right? Anyway, it's great seeing you guys. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Look out for us across the street over there.
So, Senator Buxton, before you walk away, are you having any impact on state government to bring them around to our way of thinking?
I would love to spend a minute. You guys do it right. All joking aside, you do it right. So keep on what you're doing. I mean it. Do it right.
Great. Thank you for those comments. We really appreciate it. And these two new guys, they're doing pretty darn good. Okay, any other public comments? Seeing none, okay. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Sweeney.
Thanks, sir. Last night, Dr. Hillary Welliver hosted the libraries from all around the county in a State of the Libraries meeting. And I just want to convey that State of the Libraries is pretty good. They did a great job presenting what they have done in the past and what they plan to do in the future.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, I got to spend some time at the 911 call center. First thing I did was I thanked the dispatcher and the paramedic that saved my life last year when I had the heart attack. I wanted to do it personally, not by letter or phone. I do everything in person because, you know, I'm a constituent type person that I always try and serve. So, and while I was there, I also got to see the amount of upgrades our command center is going to need, that center needs, and the lives that are going to be affected if we don't do something in the future. So just to put out an all points bulletin to you all for thinking about it, because we are in our budget hearing coming up, that we need to start putting money away for the future, and soon. And then also want to remind everybody that Thursday night I leave for NACO, our national counties. You know, I'm one of 2 representatives that represents our county and our state in Washington, D.C. So if you need to get a hold of me, I may not be able to call you right back because all the meetings I'm in over there. But if you leave a text or a voicemail, I will call you just as soon as I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Maston.
On Sunday, I attended the King Cole Farm out on, I guess it's South Little Creek Road. It's the location where I think we recently extended sewer service to. If you haven't been out there, it is a beautiful, beautiful venue for any activities. And the home itself is just extraordinary. So if you have a chance to go out there and see it, you really should stop by. It's just magnificent.
Any other commissioner comments? Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, this time we'll reconvene to committee meetings. Committee meeting, one item. Mr. Scott, Row Office Liaison. You have a deeds office update?
If I call on Ms. Thornton at this time and Ethan.
Thank you.
And you can have a seat right here if you'd like. Right here.
I can have a seat? Oh. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. I would like to
say hello to all of you commissioners and to Senator and to the honored guests that are still here. I am here as to inform you, not to seek any decision on anything. This is an informational briefing because I have got so much good news for the first 30 days in my time in the deeds office that I'm just bursting to tell you and update you about all the exciting things we've been doing. I have 3 pieces of news for you tonight. The first piece of news is that the good news, I guess, is that I am very comfortable in this job. I want to let you guys know, and you ladies know, that I have 27 years of experience working with public records. I am certified by American University. That happened in 1978. So to bring myself up to date, I have joined PREA, which is Property Records Industry Association, which is the body that helped Delaware develop its Records Act back when that was done in the early 2000s. And also I'm certifying myself or getting certified in NAGA, which is National Association of Government Archivists and Records Administrators. So that is bringing me up to date. And my goal for the deeds office is that we would, as you see here, we will be using the property records industry standards and best practices to make property transactions faster, safer, and more convenient for everyone. So with that in mind, I have been proceeding by talking with my primary stakeholders, which are the attorneys, the paralegals, and the title searchers. And I met with them individually and found out what their issues were with my office. And because of that, I was able to actually affect quite a few changes, very small, most of them just little tweaks. And I had Joe's help with some of them, which is very much appreciated. Of course, I had my deputies help with all of them. But some of the things that we did are in the press release that you had in your read-ahead, and I'll just articulate them, that the proper formatting of real estate transfer and mortgage documents to reduce non-conforming and rejected documents and speeding up the process. I have a new tax form that was required by the state of Delaware that Joe helped me put up on the website to make it easy. We have a new way to note recorded documents that have been rescanned, which is something that Avenue helped with. We have a new note to searchers about indexing conventions to make searching easier. That's, again, something that Joe helped me with. A new way to make processing of credit cards faster and easier for those accessing the deed software remotely. Now, that is not our finance office. That is Avenue. They take credit cards for when the people can remotely access that. We have a new way to access transfer tax information from our website. Again, that was something that Joe helped with. And also, we have some good news about title theft, and I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. So if you'll just refer to the briefing charts that are on the screen, and I got to twist around a little bit. In addition to doing all that, I got everybody together. We had 45 people meet at Roma's on the 2nd of February, and it was very well received. We went over these briefing charts, which I am not going to go over with you here because you can read them for yourself. But I will say that we had no issues when I pointed out to them that I can go faster if they will not make so many mistakes, and I pointed out to them where the mistakes were being made. Next slide, next slide, next slide, next slide, next slide, and right there. So those are the mistakes that they were making, it up a little bit. Those were the mistakes that they were making, and when I pointed them out to them and we gave them their individual copies, they were a little bit surprised that one of the reasons we weren't going as fast as they wanted is because we were spending a lot of time with their documents. So I'm hoping that education is going to be helpful to them. Okay, so you can go to the next slide, and these right here are just minor things that they wanted me to help them with. Keep going. and keep going, and keep going. All right, so keep on going. Keep. All right, so everybody really enjoyed this session, and they hope that we'll do it again. And I will just point out to you, commissioners, that this session did not cost the county anything. I treated to the food, and the venue treated to the wine bar afterwards and gave 20% off to everybody that stayed so that we could have some social time together. And they were exchanging cards with one another, and it was a sight to see. It was really nice. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, stop right there. All right, so all the things that I've talked about so far are things that the attorneys wanted and the paralegals wanted. And the last thing I want to talk about is software that will make the citizens of Kent County feel safer about how well we can protect their property from title theft. This is an industry best practice. It's been around for a while. It became sort of a hot topic in Delaware recently because Sussex County had about 6 or 7 of their $1 million homes that came very close to being, had title theft issues with them. Sussex County does have this software, however, and they've had it since, I'm not exactly sure when they got it, but definitely since October. And what happened was they now have started to sort of advertise the fact that they have this kind of software. Newcastle County also has this type of software, and they've had it probably for about the same amount of time. Newcastle County has recorded fraudulent deeds. So they're a little bit sensitive about that, and I don't know if they're advertising it or not. And that's really what I want to talk to you about. I was fortunate because there was a big Deeds 3 vacancy in my office that went for a long time, and that's quite a bit of money that you already budgeted for that wasn't spent. And the other place that we have a little bit of money is that everybody in my staff was budgeted to have benefits, but only one person is taking benefits. So that gives us a little bit of money there as well. In fact, we had enough money, we were able to help public safety out with a plotter situation, and we were pleased to do that. But we really feel that getting this, what they call property theft notification software on our platform that Avenue runs, which is a product that you all already approved of, and of course you already approved of my budget as well, but you already approved of this software. And it's as I said, industry standard. It already usually comes packaged with these software programs that we use nowadays. So they have it available, and really, to be honest, we don't have a choice. We only have Avenue. It's proprietary. This software only works with Avenue. So it's not like we can go shopping around for other software. Kent County and Sussex, they have different vendors entirely. They also use their vendor software. But all these softwares do the same thing. So what happens is a person has to register, and they can sign up for their name, address, property, whatever. They tell, and they have to register, and part of that process, they say all of that information. And then at the end of the week, when we record all of our documents, Avenue, the software provider, takes those and merges those updates that we've made to the records with the names that they have on file of people who have registered. If there is a hit, then Avenue will reach out to these people and let them know that there is something they need to take care of. And really, they're just advised to seek an attorney. It doesn't come back to us. It doesn't create any more workload for us to have this software running. But what the workload for us, and where I'm seeking your help, is that we need to if this money is reprogrammed, which Alan is the decision maker on, if this is reprogrammed, then I will need all of your help, because we need to let Kent County know what we're doing. And I've already spoken with Kelly in the back about how we're going to have a public relations plan to make Kent County aware. That's going to be, we're going to have to do newspaper articles, and when you go out and speak with your constituents. I will give you talking points. I actually have a 10-minute speech that I used to give about this particular topic. If you want to do that to a Rotary Club, or if you have a constituent meeting, I've got that available for you. This is just for us to let them know, because if people don't sign up for it, it won't help. So they do have to sign up for it. So I'm very, very pleased to give you all this good news, and I think that we can work together. I'm looking forward to the next 4 years of giving you a lot of support and help, and giving you some good news that you can take back to your constituents. So thank you very much for giving me this time to update you.
Thank you very much for coming and giving us the information. Very informative. Any commissioners have any questions?
Mr. Lang, did you have anything that you wanted to add, sir?
Not at this time. Just excited to answer any questions if you all have any. Gene and I have done a lot of research on this, and we're of the conclusion that this is best practice. Both of our sister counties already have similar software with their vendors, and I think it makes sense to modernize and be on the cutting edge of technology to ensure that our citizens are protected and their property records are safe.
Yeah. And there is another part to this, which I said, education, education, education. There is more than just someone trying to forge a document or borrow off of a existing property. There's other parts to this. There's more to it, but it won't impact any software buy. It's really an education process which we want to take the lead on. And you'll see that title fraud, that paper up there, that's a draft of a white paper that we're working on. Ethan is the primary author because it has quite a bit in there about the law as well. And that would be something that we would be handing out. That would be something that you would be using, and it would be quite informative to everyone.
Ms. Thornton, also,
Yeah.
another question I had is, how do these people register for this? Is online the only way that they can register, or
Yes.
is there other avenues that they can register? Just looking
Yes,
at
it is the only way you can do it, no matter what software you get. But you'll see, I don't know if you can read it there, but probably in your briefing packet, you can read it a little bit better. But what it is, instead of having that blob up there, it'll have Kent County seal, and it just tells them what it does, and then it tells them how to register, and they have to click a link. And they're going to have to access our software to do it, and this link will not be on the Avenue part, although Avenue handles it. It will actually be on the part that Joe maintains, the county website, under county government. So it will be just a tab. They'll have to be educated as to how to find it. And I was chatting with the president and with the vice president about this at the leadership meeting. And, they're very keen on finding ways to reach out to the people that don't have this email access. And so that's, again, where Kelly is going to come in. We're going to have to go to the senior centers. I think it was President Pepper that suggested that maybe we could suggest to them they could use their executor, perhaps, of their will or something like that. But it does have to be someone who's got email, because otherwise it would be cost-prohibitive. This is not very expensive software, considering it's running every week and everything they're giving us. But it's just an algorithm that matches up names, and there's no way to do it without them already registering. It is voluntary, but I will say this, it's free. And the alternative would be to leave the people to buy software that does something similar but not as good, because it relies on PRIDE data, which the PRIDE data is a little bit behind what we'd be doing every week. So it'd be caught really fast. Any other questions?
Just for a record, how many times has this happened in Kent County? You mentioned 6 times almost in Sussex, but how many times has this happened in Kent County?
No way of knowing. There's no way of knowing, because unless it goes to court or unless it gets in the paper, you don't know. The problem with this type of fraud is that, and let me just tell you a little story if I have a few minutes. My high school friend lived in one of those big peach houses on 896 going between Middletown and Glasgow. And That property was developed when the parents died, and one of the cousins bought the property. And they didn't live here. They lived in Arizona. So the property was sitting there with the housing development going up all around it. You know, it was an old potato farm. You know what I'm talking about. It was big old beautiful brick homes with the little cupola up on the top and all that, a traditional peach home. Anyway, well, this couple that owned it, they decided they weren't going to come back to Delaware, they would sell it. And when they started to try and sell it, it turned out that there was people living in there. And when the police went, the people who were living in there, the squatters, they said, we have a deed. And they produced a deed, and it had been recorded by the Newcastle County Recorder of Deeds. So the police then turned it into a civil matter. They couldn't do anything about it. They backed away. In the meanwhile, those people left in the middle of the night, and they took the transom, they took the glass doorknobs, they took the brass in the house, and they pretty much trashed the house. And the thing is, even though there was a recorded deed that was false, and there was those people, except for showing it to the police, they never claimed anything more about it. But the people who owned the house still had to prove that they hadn't sold it, and they had to pay for a lawyer, and they had to pay for all the expenses that happened in that house. So that never came to trial. Nobody knows about it. I only know about it because my high school friend spoke to me about it. That's what's happening with a lot of this. There's a lot of squatters that are living in some of these vacant houses we have. And there's a lot of people that are making attempts at fraudulent deeds. But unless it is something that is taken to trial or whatever, you don't know about it. It is, however, the FBI says it is an important thing to be looking out for. The folks down in Sussex County are right now, the realtors, the Real Estate Association in Sussex is doing training about it, and we were contacted by our Kent County. They're waiting for us to do our title fraud white paper, and they're going to conduct training on it. It does happen, and even if it only happens once or twice, it's very important to protect the people against it, because if it happens, it's devastating.
So did this new program stop the 6 almost in Sussex County?
Well, as a matter of fact, it did not get that far. An attorney found it like the Sunday before it went to settlement, and there's, like I said, there's many, many ways, but had it...
2 minutes debate, but we're agonizing for 42 minutes over 3,000. Aside from that, I appreciate you looking into this. And then thirdly, I've gotten calls and emails because this stuff is on the radio every day, right? They pump out these commercials, and Forbes rightly identifies that it's nonsense, but people worry. It's a thing for them to worry about. And if we spend $3,000 and mitigate that worry, show them that we're concerned, it brings us in alignment with the other 2 counties for $3,000. I'm all for it.
Right. Thank you. I'll just correct. It's $3,000 to purchase it, to get it in line, and it's $1,200 a year. So that's what it is. So the out years. Now, we only have this particular software avenue
Ms.
for
Thornton,
5 years. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Cut me off.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
But I mean, I think they've gotten all the budget line items with
Okay,
it,
cool.
the cost factors of it, and et cetera. So I
Yeah.
think enough, there's been kind of enough discussion on it for the evening.
Thank you.
They have all the literature there, so it'll be, reviewed and considered. And thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
you
And
very
thanks
much.
for having us. We look forward to working with you guys for the next 4 years. Thank you so much, and ladies. Thank you.
Do we have any public comments on this? No public comments, Mr. President. Turn it back over to you at this time.
Okay, you adjourn your committee. So, you have a comment you'd like to make? Okay.
Yeah, I do have a comment
I
I'd
mean,
like to
we've
make.
already passed that, but if you'd like to make another comment.
I'm
go
going
ahead.
to pretend I'm public because Mr. Pepper has a birthday. Even though it's not this week, it's next week and we're not going to be here. So with that, here comes Laura with his cake. And as part of my comments, we're going to sing happy birthday.
Mr. Buxton can join in on that if he likes.
Senator Buxton, would you lead us?
And 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
And thank you very much. The 14th of February, we have no Levy Court meeting. So we won't be here the day before my birthday, which is the 15th. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. With that being said, we will adjourn to our workshop in the caucus room to do our FY24 budget review, community service grants. We will not be coming back to the Levy Court chambers here.